Talk about Deca and MPP. So the main difference between these drugs is the ester length. They act very similar. So it would be just like testosterone enanthate and then testosterone prop, trenacetate, trenananthate. So it's the ester length, but they act very similar. Now at the end of the day, it's impossible to say which one would gain the most muscle or give you the best result. There are way too many factors to consider. Starting with Deca, and really MPP falls suit with this because the length of time that you should be on each compound does not differ just because one is built up in the system faster. So just because you're taking MPP does not mean that you can run it for 8 weeks, for 10 weeks, because it kicks in faster as opposed to Deca that say you had to run for 16, 20. Run a cycle at least 6 months of a blast to get a result that is gonna be worth, you know, taking these drugs for and putting in all the effort into your diet. You want to get something out of it. The reason why someone would pick one over the other, I would have to say the main one is probably the amount of times they're pinning each one a week. So the faster acting it is, the more often you have to pin. So that it just comes down to the individual. Do you want to pin MPP at least 3 times a week? You know, 4 times a week, whereas Deca is just twice. So that's something to consider. So if you were going to take 500 Deca, 500 MPP, you would get more of the 500 out of the MPP as compared to the Deca. Now the exact number, it's impossible for me to say, but if I had to guess, I would say 500 MPP would be like, I don't know, 750, 800 Deca. And again, those aren't exact, but I'm just giving you guys an idea. So the highest you really need to run MPP would be 700 milligrams, and that would be a mil a day. Pinning something like MPP, does your testosterone need to be a prop? Or can it still be an enanthate? So I would say run your testosterone as enanthate or cypionate because it's always in there as a base. You always have it in there. Whether you go down to TRT or you're just blasted, you know, unless you come off gear, it's always in there. So that would be my recommendation. But are you wrong for pairing test prop with the MPP? No, you're not. You just got to take the dosing differences into consideration and the amount of times you pin. So MPP holds less water. The shorter acting, the less water it's gonna hold. Trend is a more grainy, a leaner look. Deca is a more fuller look, but it just comes down to which one you like. Now I can't sit here and tell you which one's better. I prefer Trend. I don't have much experience with Deca because I've always liked Trend. So, you know, I would say run Deca for 6 months, run Trend. Those are the main drugs you would swap out. Test Deca, test MPP. If you want to go further, add equipoise. I don't suggest anyone take Primo because it's not only is it expensive, but it's faked a lot of the time. You got to run, you know, the dose high enough. So that's something you can pair with it regardless. 500 Deca all the way up to 1,000. When it comes to MPP, I've said, you know, you don't need to go above 700. So titrate up. You don't just start out at 1,000 Deca. So you start with the test, 500 tests, you run that for at least 4 to 6 weeks. 4 weeks is good. Then you add 500 Deca in. People are waiting too long. You don't want to be 7 months into your blast just adding the Deca in then. You want to be adding things in at a pace that's comfortable, but not too fast. So equipoise is much different. It doesn't aromatize. So Deca can cause estrogen, increase estrogen. So those are the main drugs you want to watch. Like you would never start with 1,000 Deca. Run the testosterone 1-to-1 or run the Deca less. So 500 tests, 400 Deca. 500 tests, we'll go 750 tests, 500 Deca. What I don't want to hear and what pisses me off is when I see fucking 250 tests, 1,000 Deca. Or someone running 1,000 Deca, nothing else. You know, that's not how things are done. That's not how you build the look that these people are going for. The MPP, start with 500 tests. After 4 weeks, add the fucking MPP in. Start with 300. Do that for 4 weeks, up it to 400. You know, do that for a few weeks, up it to 500. You know, that's how you ease into it. There's no like strict rule. Just make sure you're doing it slowly enough. Play with the different compounds to see. Run MPP for 4 months, run your Deca for 4 months, run the MPP for 6 months. You know, come off, do fucking Deca the next time. Like, you gotta see for yourself. I can't sit here and tell you what you're gonna like more, what dose is gonna work best. You gotta see for yourself, and it has to be taken a long enough period of time that you see the result. Okay, nothing kicks in right away. It doesn't matter the ester. It doesn't matter if it's testosterone suspension, right? Your body can only gain so much, and the drugs take time to fucking take effect. That's, you know, the basis. Like, Deca is very tolerable in terms of side effects. MPP, much more so than Equipoise, or, sorry, Equipoise Tren. And I'm not going to go over the sides here because you can just Google it. It's all the same fucking shit for every steroid. Decrease bad cholesterol, or good cholesterol. Fucking increases bad cholesterol, and that's diet. That's mostly diet, lifestyle. All these side effects, monitor with blood work. Get your blood work twice a year, depending on what the lab and panel says. Twice a year, echocardiograms. Like, check my Instagram out. I put this stuff out, right, for things people need to do. And so we're not disregarding it. I'm just not going to go over it all here because there's enough of that bullshit on here. You guys aren't going to take Deca for 12 weeks and die. So if you're someone that is just very nervous about taking something, get your blood work before. Everybody should have it before, so you have a baseline to go off of, so you know, 6 years down the road, if something's starting to go out of whack, you can fucking take your foot off the gas. You know what the baseline was. So I think I've pretty much covered everything. Pick a compound, pick one of them, and, go with it. That's the video. Appreciate you guys watching. The Anabolic Coach on Instagram, TikTok. I'll see you guys in the next video.